Hello, my loves. Welcome back to another video inside of this mini series, The Halloween Academy. If you didn't see the first video, which was I grew up in a very haunted house, then there is a really interesting story, creepy story for you to enjoy after watching this video. I will try to link it up at the end. Okay, so today we're going to be talking all about a botched abduction, and you'll find out what I mean by botched as we get into it, because it really did not go to plan. And I'm not talking about my plan, I'm talking about the beings that abducted me. It did not go to plan. It went very badly, and it was such a traumatizing experience for me that I actually did film a video about it on this channel, but I was still in the trauma of it. You know what I mean? Like, I was still so freaked out but I wanted to share it so that all the details would be really fresh. So the details are really fresh in that video, but the perspective or like the conclusions maybe aren't what they would be now. Years later, I've had so much more experience, and I understand so much more about this kind of thing as well. So I do want to share it again from like a fresher perspective. If you ever watched the old one, you'll probably find this really interesting to see my new take on it. But I mean, I think you'll find it interesting regardless. Okay, so before we jump in, please make sure that you are subscribed to this channel for new videos. We're doing a bunch of videos extra during this series, so you'll be seeing multiple videos a week coming your way, which is so exciting, and I'm so happy to be like a little more full-time over here on YouTube and have some time to do that. Okay. So I think we should just jump right in. You know the drill. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things. But let's just jump right in. Okay, so botched abduction. All right, so what happened was I was actually taken from my dream. Okay, so that sounds crazy, but in a way, it's not that crazy. So I was having this dream. So in the dream realm, what was happening was, in the real realm, I was in my bed laying there. But in the dream realm, what was happening was I was over at a friend's house, and I was going through a box of oracle cards and finding one that was going to be really fun for us to do a reading with. And in the background, I saw that her parents had welcomed two people into the kitchen. And I remember being like, they don't have like a great vibe. And they were talking about, let's do a seance. And I was like, oh, like, that's not my vibe either. I don't want to do that. And so I was like, well, to each their own. I'll just like, you do your thing, I'm gonna go over here and do something else. And it was a couple, like a man and a woman, and they seemed human-ish, but something wasn't. Do you know what I mean? It was almost like they were wearing, I'm getting more as I'm even talking about it, it was like they were wearing a disguise to look human, because I remember them being like really tall and really slender, more so than a human could be. And they were wearing like, the guy was wearing like this weird beard and a hat, and the woman was wearing glasses and like a wig. It was definitely a disguise. Okay. So what happened was the man came over, and like he came over and he saw me, and he did like a bit of like a karate chop on between my shoulder and my neck. And I just went like out, blacked out completely. And I woke up in what felt like a ship of some kind. I wasn't fully certain at this point what was going on, but I was like stuffed in a small, almost felt like a cargo space in a ship. Like, I didn't know if it was like a ship on the water, like, or a plane or a spaceship or what it was. But there was this tiny little round window, and I remember looking at it and like squinting, and I couldn't keep my eyes open. I kept like almost falling asleep. And this little round window, I was looking at it, and there was rain on the other side of it, like on the outside, and it was moving really, really fast, like streaming really, really quickly. And I was looking at it, and then I just out again. I just kept blacking out this whole experience, which was really frustrating for me, getting pieces of information blacking out. Like, I was trying so hard to counteract whatever drug I had been given to like wake up. Now, the new information that I have is that in the real world, my physical body had been taken, and this is how it was playing out in my consciousness. So if you are in the middle of a dream and you're kind of taken, that could actually be a sign that it's happening in the real world, in the awakened, like physical realm, and that your subconscious is translating what's happening in the physical in your dream world. But you're stuck in the dream world for a while because of usually you're drugged and put out, right? Put under. So that's what was happening. So it was a physical abduction, but it started in a dream, which was really weird. But then all these other pieces were the real experience where my body, and I was waking up, waking up, waking up. So I woke up again in the same spot. So I blacked out after looking at the window with the rain and feeling the surge of us like going like an elevator feeling. And then I blacked out. Then I woke up again and I screamed, but not out loud because I was so paralyzed and so numb. But in my mind, I screamed for help to my guides. And I remember being like, somebody help me, something's wrong. Like, I've been taken. I don't know where I am. And I was like freaking out. And I remember feeling my guides also feeling like anxious, like it felt like they were worried too, which did not comfort me, which made me feel like this was not okay. This wasn't supposed to be happening, or it was a dark thing. And so I heard when I was calling out for help, I heard one of my main guides, a Pleiadian guide named Amy. She said the word so clearly, "Get off at the ship." And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know what it meant yet. And I was like, okay, I'll get off at the ship. Like, I'll do my best. And then out again. Then I woke up and I had gotten off. And I woke up and I was standing on this very strange, I'm going to call it the underworld island suburbia. Because it was very clear that I was in the underworld, and I'll tell you why. But it was an island with water surrounding it, but it was also suburbia with sidewalks and homes that were very, very close together. And it was very confusing. So when I first woke up and I was standing there and I was out of the ship, I saw a sidewalk in front of me. So I just booked it and I was like walking really, really fast. And I could see to my right that there was water, but I could see that there was a sidewalk and I really didn't have a plan. So I was just walking really quickly. And as I'm walking along the sidewalk, there are houses on the left-hand side. And I saw that they were all really close together. And I was like, where am I? It feels heavy here. It feels so creepy. My skin is crawling. I hate this place and I don't know what's going on and I don't know where I am. And all I can do is just keep moving. And as I'm walking, I walked by a window passing it and it had I walked by a house as I was passing it that had a huge window, looking out at the sidewalk. And in that window was like a creature that I could never forget. It looked like a skull of a moose or a deer or something with that elongated like nose, or maybe like a really large wolf because it kind of had fangy things going on. This elongated nose, but the flesh was kind of like falling off near the mouth and the back was all just bone. And the eyes were just like pits of black, and it had its head down and it was like watching me walk by, like, and it had like her like almost like salivating, like, oh, and it was like following me with its eyes. It was so creepy to just like, and I remember being like, and I was like, okay, I'm just not going to look at anything. Like, I'm going to look at the sidewalk. I'm going to look at my feet walking on the sidewalk. I'm not looking over here. I'm just going to walk straight ahead because I knew then that this was like some kind of darker realm dimension. It felt like the underworld to me, like the lowest of the low kind of thing. It was so freaky. And then I got to the end of the sidewalk and there was nowhere to go because it was water, because this was an island, and I didn't want to go back and I couldn't go forward. And I saw these like searchlights. I felt them coming and I look and there were these searchlights, and then I was gone again. I was picked back up by that same ship. So like it was like the lights grabbed me and I was back on there again, shoved back into the same cargo thing. Actually, no, it couldn't have been the same because there was no window this time. So they must have put me somewhere like easier to hold, stronger hold where I couldn't break out of. I don't even know how I did it the first time, but they had me in. Now it felt like a even smaller space. And I remember being like the feeling that there was like boxes around me, like in a small like closet of, I don't know. And this time I really felt the takeoff. I even heard it. I remember feeling like that G-force of like when something goes up really fast and you're like, ooh, like that feeling. So I felt the takeoff, and then the next thing that I knew, I was out after that, right? Felt the takeoff, blackout again, frustratingly. And then I got dropped off in the wrong timeline. So it's like they tried to drop me home, like, she's not worth the trouble, let's just drop her back off. But they dropped me off in the wrong timeline, because I got dropped off in my bedroom at the time in the house that I lived in. And I looked around the room and I was like, it's my bedroom and yet it's not. The bed was on the wrong side, the curtains were different, like furniture that I didn't, and I was just like, and somehow that was like the scariest thing of all. I don't know why. It feels really bad to be in the wrong timeline. Like, it feels like something bad's about to happen because you're not supposed to be there. It was very scary as well. And I was like, and I'm looking around and I knew right away, like, those fuckers got it wrong. I don't belong. This isn't it. There's a different Jenny that lives here. So, and I remember hearing someone coming up the stairs in this house that was very similar to my house, but not. And I was like, oh no, like, I cannot be seen. I knew I couldn't be seen. If I was seen, I felt like it was going to be really bad, like multiple problems. And now in many of my lifetimes, I didn't want to screw my timelines up. And so I remember like throwing open this door that was supposed to like lead out of the bedroom. And when I threw open the door, it was just like a fall straight downwards. And I could see almost like, like if there's a winding staircase in a building, if you look down the center of the staircase, it goes all the way down, but you can almost see like the railings around the edges. That's what it looked like, which was, don't know what that was. And I literally just threw myself off. I was like, well, and I just thought, that's how seriously I knew I couldn't be seen. I threw myself off of the railing landing into the centerpiece, and I just fell for so long. And then I hit and I felt like the wind knocked out of me. And I laid there for a while staring up, and I felt like a tear kind of just like trickle, and I felt fully paralyzed now. I was like, okay, like I might die now. And then this animal came up to me. It was a big white fluffy dog. And it came up to me and it started licking my tears and licking my face. And I was able to like move one hand to touch its fur. And I knew, I had this very strong poof knowingness in that moment that this was my cat. At the time, her name was Ella, and she was a white cat in a different timeline with me as a big fluffy dog. So that's what I mean. Like in the timeline, things are all weird and messed up, but it's almost like the same too. But this time she was a dog, and I was like, oh, it's kind of neat to know that she's like with me in this life too. But oh my God, like, so she met me. She was the only one that saw me or met me. And then I just remember just crying and trying to like ask for help, basically. And then of course, you know what happened next? I blacked out again. And then I got woken up by the loudest bang ever. It was like a huge, like, bang, like God himself, herself, goddess herself, clapped their hands together, and the universe went wham. And I like felt like, ugh, like I fell into my bed. And so like I was awoken by the loudest bang, and like instantaneously in the proper timeline, thankfully. And I woke up and I was in my bed. And I woke up so beyond drugged. Like, this is a symptom, so that if anyone's ever had this happen to them, if you wake up and you have physical symptoms, it was a physical abduction versus like an astral abduction. So I was so ill and dizzy that I immediately sat up, and I had to look at my face in the mirror. Like, I don't know why, but that felt really, really important. I needed to know that I was me. One look at the room, I knew I was in the right place, but am I still me? And so I remember trying to stand up, and my legs were like noodles, and it was like the worst hangover anybody had ever had. And I was like holding on to the side of my bathroom sink and counter, like wobble wobbling, and like looking in the mirror at myself, like, what the is going on? I was messed up. It was so crazy. So I was sick for like a lot of hours of like I was very sick for hours, and then I slowly started to feel better. But it was like about 2 days of not feeling good, like physical symptoms. And it was like a good week or so of feeling emotionally very traumatized by this whole experience, being very upset and angry with my guides. For some reason, I felt like they should have done better or protected me more. Like where were you? Like I was so mad. I was angry with all the people that normally would protect me. And I've come to realize since that, like if there are things in our soul contracts, they're going to happen, whether anybody's trying to protect you or not. Right. So after, many years, I think this happened in 2019. So it's been a few years now. This wasn't that long ago. So I've asked since, like, what the was that? What the F was that? And I've been told that it was like, that it wasn't that the people that were abducting me were evil. It's that they were neutral and they didn't really care. And that's the Greys, right? So I was abducted by Greys, disguising themselves, I feel like in the dream to get me. And then, I never saw their faces, but I just received that information later when I was asking about it and channeling and asking my guides about it and asking my higher self about it. And what I was told was that it was supposed to be just like a routine DNA testing, and that this is something that they do a lot. They would have picked me up and then they were picking somebody else up. Why they were in the underworld, who they were picking up, I guess I don't need to know. They were picking different people up and they were going to then take them all at once back to wherever it was to do some testing and then drop everybody back off again before the end of the night or whatever. But I had very recently, right before that, had a very powerful Kundalini awakening. And I had been visited by this golden being, this golden angelic being named Hupna, that had really activated me. I was off the charts with my frequency at that time, like really, really, like I couldn't even hold the high frequencies, hold it all. It was so much at the time. And so they couldn't, so what I've received since then is that why I kept waking up was they couldn't keep me under, right? It's like my frequencies were so high and I was so aware and I was like so connected to God's source and oneness and above the physical, so much, such a connection to what I was as the non-physical parts of me, that like I just kept waking up, like I couldn't be kept under. And so when I just kept waking, they couldn't keep me under, then they were like, oh my God, like we just need to get her back then, because I don't think that was anticipated. Maybe in my soul contracts or whatever, however this works, it's very complicated, but maybe that they didn't know that. And they thought, everything was just so like as normal, just maybe they picked me up a lot of times before, which is creepy, right? And done this many times. And all of a sudden it's like, what's wrong with this one? We can't keep her under. We can't keep her on the ship. She's waking up. She's running all over the place. Like what do we do? And it was almost like they were like stuffing me in a closet, locking me in, dropping me off, and then the wrong timeline thing. So the wrong timeline, me feeling like that was an accident, like they dropped me off there as a mistake, right? But are there mistakes? Or does everything have a lesson to it? Can beings make mistakes? I don't know. Maybe, right? Like maybe they made a mistake, but do I look at it as a mistake, or do I look at it as proof that parallel timelines exist, parallel versions of me exist, parallel versions of my life, which I got a glimpse of, are real? And that's kind of a gift. I'm very much trying to pull positive from this because it was very traumatizing, but that is a gift. And another gift that I received was like a lot of inner strength and inner resilience from this. Like I was very upset for a long time, but then I thought, how do I not let this happen again? How do I do better at protecting myself? How do I do better in the astral and in the physical of being very clear with my boundaries? Right? Very clear with wards, protective wards, boundaries, knowing exactly what to do. And if I get in a bad situation like that, knowing exactly how to like wake up and get out of it. Though I know I did do my best. But I have learned a lot from this botched abduction. Now, do you see why I was totally botched? I don't think they got what they wanted in the end at all. And that's not to say I haven't been abducted since. I have had abduction experiences since, but nothing that felt botched. Not that they're all super pleasant. You know, I do have very strong connections to a lot of different programs, hybridizations, all kinds of things that are in soul contracts that are, they feel like you've decided on that, and it almost feels like you can't, not that you don't have free will or a choice, but that you already made the choice like a long time ago and you kind of have to go through with certain things. So I definitely have had, just to say, I definitely have had abductions since, but nothing that felt so botched where they had lost control of me and I was freaking out and they were trying to drop me off and they dropped me in the wrong place. Like that was fully on. Such a chaos. It was such chaos. So anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you watched the OG video to that many years ago when I tried to explain what the heck had happened. I'll definitely have more understanding around it now, being a physical experience and understanding what physical symptoms would feel like after an abduction. That's why I said, like, if you feel drugged, that's definitely like a real physical thing that has happened to you. And these kinds of things always happen when I'm alone, you know, like if I'm in a partnership or in a relationship at the time, it's always when that person is not there for some reason. If they get up earlier and they go off, like most of, you know, I'm not a morning person, and so I don't get up super, super early. And so most of my life, I'm with a partner that's always getting up earlier than me. And then when they leave, that's when these kinds of things happen when I'm alone, right? So that's when I always have learned to really call in protection when I'm alone. But yeah, anyway, I'll leave it there. Again, I don't want this video to be too long, but I just wanted to share it with you in the spirit of, you know, the Halloween Academy series, and you know, also just some lessons in there for sure. And I'd love to hear, of course, your own experiences. Please, you guys, blow up the comment section with your own experiences. And if you can, I would also challenge you to find, not that everything has to be love and light, I'm not toxic like that, but challenge you to at least find, what did you learn from that experience, right? Because we're not victims. We are a lot of the time living out soul contracts of things that we have chosen, and sometimes it takes a little deep diving or digging to see, like, what did I learn from that? Why would I choose that for myself? But that's a very empowering mindset too. So anyway, if you want to hang out with me more, check out the Starseed Academy membership through the link below. We are having an amazing time over there. Live events, group chats, group community, resource section of, I think, 200 plus trainings, master classes, never before seen footage and videos, contests to win readings with me. It's a great space. So come on over to the membership, or if you'd like to work together one-on-one, you can also book that through the link in bio. I love you all so much, and I want to remind you before we go, listen to your heart and the quiet voice within, because you are so much more than the body you are in. I love you so much, beautiful star seeds. Have a great day. Bye.